8. Deep Dive Dubai. Dubai holds several world records for the size of its structures. It's home to the tallest building on Earth, the Burj Khalifa, as well as the world's largest shopping mall. The city added the world's deepest swimming pool to its list of massive structures in 2021, with the completion of Deep Dive Dubai. Designed for deep diving, the pool boasts a depth of 196 feet, making it 48 feet deeper than the previous record holder, Poland's Deep Spot. It holds 14 million liters of fresh water, roughly the equivalent of 6 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The deep dive attraction was reportedly the brainchild of Dubai's crown prince, Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, who's an avid diver. Located within an oyster-shaped building, the pool is kept at a comfortable 86 degrees Fahrenheit. It's filled with a so-called underground city for divers to explore. The submerged structures were built to look like abandoned apartments, and there's even an underwater arcade with a foosball table, as well as motorbikes and other vehicles. Lighting and sound systems give different atmospheres to various parts of the pool, and it's also equipped to function as an underwater film studio. It was designed to accommodate divers of all skill levels, including beginners and seasoned pros. To ensure divers' safety, there are 56 security cameras installed throughout the pool, as well as a hyperbaric chamber for emergencies. Speaking with CNN, deep dive director Jared Jablonski said that the deep diving pool is much more interesting than others, not only for its record-breaking depth and size, but because of the unique fixtures within it. Visiting isn't exactly cheap, with beginners packages starting at around $500, 800 AED, but it's supposedly worth doing so at least once. 7. Prelude FLNG at 1,601 feet long. The hull of the Prelude exceeded the height of the Empire State Building by several hundred feet. Built in South Korea for the Shell Oil Company and launched in December 2013, the Floating Liquefied Natural Gas, or FLNG platform, is the world's largest structure of its kind. Measuring 243 feet wide, it was built with more than 286,000 tons of steel and has a displacement of more than 661,000 tons when fully loaded. It has enough storage space for 114 million gallons, or roughly the equivalent of 175 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The Prelude went into operation in 2018 after arriving at the Browse LNG Basin gas fields off Western Australia. Production has only stopped a handful of times ever since, including in 2020 due to electrical problems, in December 2021 due to a small fire, and during a strike in August 2022. 6. Bokeh Vanguard. Measuring 902 feet long and 259 feet across at its widest point, the Bokeh Vanguard is the world's largest semi-submersible heavy-lift ship. Owned and operated by the Dutch company Dockwise, she was built specifically for transporting the largest oil rigs on the planet to their destinations. Her deck is watertight and sinks up to 52 feet below the surface when the vessel's ballast tanks are filled, enabling the Vanguard to carry large loads of floating cargo. After entering service in 2013, the ship's first task was to move the 53,000-ton Jack St. Malo oil platform from South Korea to the Gulf of Mexico. It's the largest floating oil platform ever built. In addition to ferrying massive pieces of equipment across oceans, the Vanguard also occasionally functions as an offshore dry dock facility. She was used as such by a submersible drilling platform in 2013 and by Carnival Cruise Lines in 2019. As of late September 2023, the vessel was en route from Singapore to Port Ingleside in Texas, with a projected arrival date in late October. 5. Maneang Gold Mine. Located in northeastern South Africa, the 35-mile-long Witwatersrand Basin contains the world's largest known gold reserves. The precious metal was first discovered within the basin during the 1880s, sparking a massive gold rush that led to the establishment of the country's largest modern-day city, Johannesburg. Gold is a finite resource, which means that it's entirely possible for the world to run out of mineable sources of it. and as the supply dwindles, the value has only increased over time. In recent decades, gold production in South Africa has decreased substantially, with only a fraction of the mines that once existed still operating today. And while there's still a considerable amount of gold left in the Witwatersrand Basin, miners are having to dig further and further into the ground to get to it. The deepest mine in the region, and actually the world, known as Maneang, extends over 2.5 miles underground. It's located an hour outside Johannesburg, roughly the same amount of time that it takes for someone to travel 12,600 feet to the bottom of the mine. The journey begins in the world's tallest elevator, which consists of 3 levels of steel cages that can hold up to 150 people at a time total. It travels at 40 miles per hour, transporting its riders nearly 7,500 feet down in just 3 minutes. As many as 4,000 workers use the elevator daily, and a second elevator takes them the rest of the way down. From there, employees embark on a lengthy walk through the mine's seemingly endless tunnels to reach the worksite. Conditions at the bottom of the mine are dark, clammy, and extremely hot, with the temperature of the rock itself reaching as high as 151 degrees Fahrenheit, while a cooling system battles to keep the air at a less than comfortable 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Back in 2010, experts estimated that Maneang's gold supply would run out within 8 years. The mine outlasted its projected lifespan, but as of 2022, it's reportedly barely breaking even. Thousands of tons of rock are excavated daily, but it's possible, or perhaps even likely, the cost of the mining operation will outweigh the profits while also discouraging investors from funding continued excavation. As of August 2023, Maneang's current owners plan to extend the mine deeper into the ground in order to continue accessing the gold reserves. 4. The Chenna Bridge. Northern India became home to the world's tallest rail bridge with the completion of the 1,178-foot-high Chenna Bridge in 2023. Located in the country's Jammu and Kashmir region, the structure is slated to open to visitors in late 2023 or early 2024, more than 2 decades after plans for the bridge were originally put into place. The original plans called for the bridge to be completed in 2009, but construction didn't even begin until 2010 due to delays over safety-related concerns. Officials hoped to finish the structure by 2015, but builders ran into additional complications, further pushing back the completion date. The Chenna Bridge was built as part of a larger rail expansion project that seeks to expand the National Railway's access to the Kashmir Valley. Building the new line will be complicated due to the extremely rugged and mountainous nature of the region's terrain. In addition to the newly built 4,314-foot-long bridge, the project will entail building a series of bridges and tunnels, including India's longest transportation tunnel and the National Railway's first cable bridge. Altogether, the rail line will consist of 39 miles of tunnels and 4.7 miles of bridges. The project will provide a year-round link between the Kashmir Valley and the rest of India for the first time ever. As things currently stand, the only connection is a seasonal highway that shuts down in the winter, keeping Kashmir largely isolated from other parts of the country. By making it easier for people and goods to travel to and from the region, the Indian government hopes to expand Kashmir's economic opportunities and to more closely integrate it with the rest of India. 3. Ship-to-shore connector. At 92 feet long and 48 feet wide, the ship-to-shore connector is considerably smaller than the Russian Zubr-class hovercraft, which is the world's largest vehicle of its kind. But the SSC is the United States Navy's largest amphibious landing vehicle, and the military claims that it's the most advanced hovercraft on Earth, which means that it makes up for what it lacks in size with state-of-the-art technology. Also known as a Landing Craft Air Cushion, or LCAC vehicle, it was conceptualized as the upcoming replacement for the Navy and Marine Corps' aging fleet of hovercrafts, which are nearing the end of their service lives. The SSC is designed to carry some of the military's heaviest cargo at speeds of up to 40.2 miles per hour and in waves of up to 4 feet high. owing to its 4 powerful but fuel-efficient Rolls-Royce engines. There's also a personal transport module that can be affixed to the vehicle, which can hold up to 180 passengers, or around 145 combat-equipped Marines. One of the key goals among the SSC's designers was to make amphibious landings easier by improving upon the capabilities of previous LCACs. According to the military, it can carry more than past hovercrafts while navigating into locations that were previously impossible to reach. The SSC can reportedly access more than 70% of the world's coastlines, which no other vehicle of its kind is capable of doing. Only a handful of SSCs have been built, as the project completes the tail end of its developmental stages. Plans call for 72 of the vehicles, which come with a projected service life of around 30 years. 2. Bingham Canyon. The Kennecott Copper Mine is the world's largest man-made excavation, as well as the deepest open-pit mine on Earth. It's located outside Salt Lake City in Utah's Oquirrh Mountains. Also known as Bingham Canyon, the mine measures 3,960 feet deep and 2.5 miles wide, occupying a total area of around 19 acres. Copper ore was first discovered at the site in 1848 by brothers Sanford and Thomas Bingham. Extraction began in 1863, and over 19 million tons of copper have been produced ever since, making Bingham Canyon the highest producing copper mine in history. By the 1920s, around 15,000 workers lived in communities surrounding the mine. These residential areas were eventually swallowed up by the constantly expanding pit, forcing locals to move further and further out over time. The mine's current owner, British-Australian corporation Rio Tinto, has undertaken efforts to expand the mine in recent years for the sake of extracting more copper ore. The company has invested billions into ensuring that the site will continue to operate at least until 2032, but its future after that remains largely uncertain. There have been numerous concerning incidents at the property, including a massive landslide in April 2013, and another smaller landslide that occurred 5 months later. Environmental pollution is also a major issue. Back in 1990, numerous homes throughout the area were found to be contaminated with high levels of lead and arsenic. In more recent years, there have been multiple chemical spills, and the Environmental Protection Agency has identified a 72-square-mile plume of contaminated groundwater, resulting from chemical spills and runoff from the mine. This basically means that tapping into the ground for a water supply is not an option, presenting officials with the increasingly daunting task of establishing a reliable freshwater source for the Salt Lake Valley's growing population. The mine is classified as an EPA Superfund site, which means that the government considers it a top priority to clean up the pollution. These efforts are ongoing, but the job won't get done overnight. In addition to growing fears over the hazards to the human population, experts have expressed concerns about the area's wildlife, which is also being exposed to dangerous chemicals. 1. Ain Dubai. Measuring 820 feet high, the Ain Dubai is the world's tallest Ferris wheel. Located on Blue Waters Island in the United Arab Emirates, it's nearly twice the height of the iconic London Eye, and roughly 270 feet taller than the previous record holder, the High Roller in Las Vegas. Construction began in 2015, with a planned completion date of late 2020, but the Ain Dubai didn't open until a year later in October 2021. The giant wheel consists of 48 capsules, which can hold at least 1,400 passengers. It even has special cabins for people to dine in while they ride, and it offers a view of multiple major landmarks, including Burj Al Arab, Palm Juraya, and the Burj Khalifa. Unfortunately, nobody has enjoyed its view since March 2022, when it shut down for periodic enhancements, after being in operation for just 6 months. And it's unclear if or when people will get to ride it again. In April 2023, officials announced that the wheel was closed indefinitely, without offering an explanation as to why. The structure continues to be lit up at night, but it has reportedly lost its safety certification as it languishes with an uncertain future. According to some local residents, the wheel began vibrating loudly during the short time it was open, while others claimed that it caused the ground to shake as it rotated. There were also rumors about the foundation being unsound. Any of these explanations seem plausible, and unfortunately, there has been no word on what the problem is and if the wheel will ever reopen. Both government officials and the companies involved in building and operating the wheel declined to comment to reporters. It's a shame, because if it were actually running, the Ferris wheel would probably be a fun attraction. For now, it stands as a reminder of what appears to be a failed attempt at creating a structure of record-breaking size, and running into unexpected problems along the way. Torped Dovonia. The Torped Dovonia, a haunting relic from World War II, stands as a somber testament to the past. Situated off the coast of Gdynia, Poland, this forsaken torpedo launch station casts a stark silhouette against the expanse of the Baltic Sea. Constructed in 1942, the Torped Dovonia served a brief 3-year stint dedicated to torpedo testing. Initially part of the former German state of West Prussia, the tides of war altered its destiny. In 1945, the Potsdam Agreement reshaped the map, returning the area to Poland. The Soviet Army then took control of Torped Dovonia, adapting it for military dive training. However, this phase of activity was short-lived, leading to the eventual abandonment of the facility. The Soviets systematically dismantled the station's technical equipment, transporting it to the USSR, where it likely languished, never to be reassembled or utilized again. The once connected wooden pier linking the complex to the shore fell victim to destruction, further isolating Torped Dovonia. Nowadays, Torped Dovonia stands as a forbidden monument, its weathered structure serving as a stark reminder of its tumultuous history. Sections have succumbed to the relentless sea, leaving the remaining edifice in a precarious state. Despite its perilous condition, Torped Dovonia beckons the curious and the brave, who traverse the water by swim or boat to explore its decaying ruins. However, Torped Dovonia is not for the faint-hearted. Its abandonment has left it on the verge of collapse, posing imminent dangers to those who venture too close. Those who dare to approach are confronted with the stark reality of the perils that lurk within its crumbling walls. The Torped Dovonia stands as a symbol of a bygone era, its silent presence offering a poignant reminder of the ravages of war. It exists as a realm of abandonment and forbiddance, its submerged secrets echoing beneath the waves of the Baltic Sea. Povllia, Italy. Povllia, a tiny island nestled in the Venetian lagoon, Italy, harbors a chilling and malevolent history. Its origins trace back to the 5th century, when refugees sought refuge from barbarian invasions. However, the island's narrative took a sinister turn in the 18th century, when it transformed into a quarantine station for plague victims. Thousands were condemned to Povllia, left to perish or subjected to gruesome fates by fire. The island evolved into a macabre burial ground, with its soil allegedly comprising 50% human ashes. The island's descent into horror persisted with its conversion into a mental asylum in the 1920s. Under the rule of a sadistic doctor, patients endured barbaric experiments and lobotomies conducted with hammers, drills, and chisels. Electroshock therapy and gruesome acts, including throwing victims from the bell tower, further fueled the asylum's nightmarish reputation. The doctor, tormented by the lingering specters of plague victims, succumbed to madness, purportedly taking his own life by leaping from the tower. Some suggest he was pushed by vengeful spirits. In 1968, the asylum shuttered its doors, leaving Povllia forsaken. Despite the Italian government's attempts to sell the island, it remained unwanted and untouched. Now inaccessible to the public, only a handful of intrepid individuals have ventured there, recounting tales of screams, moans, whispers, shadowy figures, and chilling touches. Some even claim possession or attacks by ethereal entities. Povllia stands as one of the world's most haunted places, earning the ominous moniker of Hell on Earth by paranormal experts. Hashima Island, Japan. Hashima Island, also known as Gunkanjima or Battleship Island, is a diminutive and deserted isle situated off the coast of Nagasaki, Japan. Once a bustling coal mining facility, it now stands as a spectral town with crumbling structures that bear witness to a haunting history. The island's coal deposits were discovered in the early 1800s, propelling it into a crucial role in Japan's rapid industrialization during the late 1800s. Acquired by Mitsubishi in 1890, Hashima Island underwent transformation into a modern mining complex, featuring seawalls, apartment blocks, a school, a hospital, and various amenities. Its zenith in 1959 saw over 5,000 inhabitants, rendering it one of the world's most densely populated places. Yet, beneath the facade of prosperity, the island harbored a dark legacy. During World War II, it served as a site of forced labor, where thousands of Korean and Chinese workers toiled in brutal conditions, enduring scarcity of food, water, and medical care. Many perished due to accidents, diseases, or exhaustion, their remains interred on the island. The decline of Hashima began in the 1960s with the shift from coal to petroleum as the primary energy source. The mine's closure in 1974 prompted the exodus of residents, who left behind their belongings and memories. For 3 decades, the island lay abandoned, succumbing to nature's reclamation, creating an eerie interplay between industrial remnants and natural growth. In 2009, after restoration and safety measures, Hashima Island reopened to the public. Now a coveted tourist attraction and a UNESCO World Heritage Site under the banner of Japan's Meiji Industrial Revolution, the island's recognition is not without controversy. Accusations by countries such as South Korea and China claim Japan downplays or denies the history of forced labor. Hashima Island remains a realm of mystery and fascination, serving as a stark reminder of the human and environmental toll exacted by industrialization. It stands as a place where the past and present, the artificial and natural, and beauty and horror coalesce in a delicate yet haunting balance. North Sentinel Island. A series of islands graces the Bay of Bengal's azure waters just northwest of the tip of Indonesia. These 572 islands, part of the Indian archipelago, have long been traversed by people and are open to tourists. However, amidst the welcoming archipelago lies a solitary exception, North Sentinel Island, a place of complete isolation and mystery. Home to the Sentinelese, who have lived in seclusion for an astounding 60,000 years, North Sentinel Island remains untouched by modernity. The Sentinelese, fiercely rejecting any contact, have no known language or means of communication outside their isolated realm. Even neighboring Andaman Islanders avoid venturing into the waters surrounding this enigmatic island, mindful of the potential for conflict. Little is known about the Sentinelese, with estimates suggesting a population ranging from 50 to 500 individuals. North Sentinel Island's strategic location, surrounded by dense forests and jagged coral reefs, offers the tribe the privacy and seclusion they value. Despite facing challenges like the 2004 tsunami, the Sentinelese endure, their homes consisting of communal structures and shelter-style huts, glimpsed from a distance by observers. The island's history includes an unfortunate episode in 1880, when a British imperial strategy led Maurice Portman to attempt contact by kidnapping an elderly couple and 4 children. However, this marked one of the earliest documented efforts, ending in their return due to illness. Efforts to reach out continued over the years, including attempts by National Geographic and the Indian government, but all met with a steady volley of arrows from the Sentinelese. The fall of 2018 saw a tragic incident when John Allen Chow, on a missionary mission, tried to bring Christianity to the island. His attempts ended in tragedy, raising global debates about the ethics and dangers of missionary activities in protected areas like North Sentinel Island. While some argue that Chow put the tribe at risk, exposing them to potential dangers, others praise his bravery. The Sentinelese, living in isolation for centuries, maintain their right to practice their beliefs without interference. Their seclusion seems destined to endure, perhaps for another 60,000 years, whether born out of fear of the modern world or a simple desire to be left alone. Area 51. Area 51, a name invoking intrigue and secrecy, represents a highly classified section of the U.S. Air Force's Edwards Air Force Base, situated within the Nevada Test and Training Range. Recognized by the U.S. government in 2013, Area 51's existence is undisputed, yet the specifics of its operation remain a closely guarded secret due to national security concerns. This clandestine nature has birthed numerous conspiracy theories and established the site as a focal point in UFO folklore. Wild speculations abound regarding Area 51's purpose, ranging from experimental aircraft and weapons system testing to alleged encounters with extraterrestrial beings. The government's persistent refusal to disclose information only amplifies public curiosity. The forbidden allure of Area 51 attracts those yearning for answers to the unknown. However, crossing its boundaries comes with severe consequences, as the perimeter is fortified with armed security, surveillance cameras, and motion detectors. Warning signs explicitly declare trespassing as prohibited, with violators facing substantial fines, imprisonment, or the potential use of deadly force. Area 51's appeal lies in its forbidden status and the human fascination with the enigmatic. It serves as a symbol of secrecy and speculation, reflecting humanity's ceaseless pursuit of knowledge and the measures governments take to safeguard their classified information. As long as Area 51 remains shrouded in mystery, it will persist in captivating the global imagination. The Ark of the Covenant. The Church of Our Lady of Mary of Zion in Axum, Ethiopia, holds profound religious significance, as it is reputed to safeguard the original Ark of the Covenant, a sacred repository believed to house the 10 Commandments given to Moses. This assertion transforms the church into a pivotal pilgrimage destination for the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. Constructed during the reign of Izana, the inaugural Christian ruler of the Kingdom of Axum in the 4th century AD, the church has weathered destruction and reconstruction at least twice. Throughout these tumultuous periods, it has stood as an enduring symbol of faith and resilience. The Ark of the Covenant purportedly rests within a secluded chapel, known as the Chapel of the Tablet, adjacent to the historic church. Entry into this chapel is restricted to an exclusive group of monks, entrusted with the sacred duty of preserving the revered artifact. The old church imposed a prohibition on women, allowing only Blessed Virgin Mary, symbolizing the archetype of the Ark, access to its premises. This prohibition, deeply rooted in religious tradition and reverence for the Ark's sanctity, extends to the belief that laying eyes on the Ark is forbidden due to its exceptional holiness. Such convictions manifested starkly in a 2020 conflict, where at least 800 individuals reportedly lost their lives while attempting to shield the Ark from local militia. The Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion, along with the Chapel of the Tablet, stands as a testament to the enduring faith of the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. The forbidden aura surrounding the Ark and its chapel enhances the mystery and allure of this sacred site, offering a captivating symbol of Ethiopia's rich religious heritage. Remember, these places are forbidden for a reason, whether it's due to their historical significance, religious sanctity, or the inherent dangers they pose. So while we encourage curiosity and exploration, we also urge respect for these restrictions.
5. The Arctic's nuclear legacy. The Arctic Ocean is home to a hidden threat. Dozens of decaying nuclear submarines that were dumped by the Soviet Union during the Cold War. These underwater relics pose a serious risk of radioactive contamination to the marine environment and human health. According to a report by the Norwegian Radiation Protection Authority, the Soviet Union disposed of 18 nuclear reactors and 6 entire submarines in the Kara Sea, the Barents Sea, and the Sea of Japan between 1965 and 1988. Some of these reactors still contain highly enriched uranium fuel, which could leak into the seawater due to corrosion, damage, or sabotage. The report estimates that the total amount of radioactivity in the sunken submarines is about 1 million curies, or a quarter of what was released in the first month following the Fukushima disaster. The consequences of such a leak could be devastating for the Arctic ecosystem, which is already vulnerable to the effects of climate change. The radioactive material could spread through the ocean currents and the food chain, affecting fish, marine mammals, seabirds, and humans. The contamination could also disrupt the fishing and oil industries, which are vital for the economies of the Arctic countries. Moreover, the sunken submarines could become a source of nuclear proliferation, as terrorists or rogue states could try to salvage the nuclear material for weapons. To prevent these scenarios, Russia has launched an initiative to lift some of the most dangerous nuclear submarines from the seabed, with the support of the international community. In March 2020, President Vladimir Putin signed a decree to remove 2 Soviet nuclear submarines and 4 reactor compartments by 2030, reducing the amount of radioactive material in the Arctic Ocean by 90%. The first submarine to be retrieved is K279, which sank in 2003 while being towed to a decommissioning site, killing 9 crew members in the process. The operation is expected to cost about $330 million and involve a complex engineering feat. The removal of the sunken submarines isn't only a technical challenge, but also a moral duty. It's a way of honoring the memory of the sailors who lost their lives in the service of their country, and of respecting the rights of the Arctic inhabitants, who depend on the ocean for their livelihood and culture. It's also a gesture of environmental responsibility and international cooperation, as the Arctic is a shared heritage that requires joint efforts to preserve and protect. However, the initiative faces many obstacles and uncertainties. The exact location and condition of some of the submarines are unknown, and the harsh weather and ice conditions in the Arctic make the operations difficult and risky. The technology and equipment needed for retrieval are also costly and scarce, and the legal and financial responsibilities are unclear. Furthermore, the initiative doesn't cover all the nuclear waste that the Soviet Union dumped in the Arctic, such as containers of solid and liquid radioactive waste, reactor compartments from icebreakers, and even an entire nuclear-powered icebreaker called Lenin. Therefore, more efforts and resources are needed to address the problem of abandoned Russian nuclear submarines and other nuclear waste in the Arctic. The international community should support and monitor Russia's initiative, and also urge the country to be more transparent and accountable about its nuclear activities in the region. The Arctic countries should also cooperate to establish a comprehensive and binding legal framework for the prevention and management of nuclear accidents and pollution in the Arctic. The Arctic is a fragile and valuable ecosystem that deserves to be protected from the legacy of the Cold War and the challenges of the present and future. 4. The R-14. The R-14 Chusovaya was a single-stage intermediate-range ballistic missile that was developed by the Soviet Union in the late 1950s and early 1960s. It was given the NATO reporting name SS-5 Scheme and was known by the Grau Index 8K65. It was designed by Mikhail Yangel, and it was named Chusovaya after a river in Russia. The R-14 was a successor to the R-12 Dvoina, another Soviet IRBM that was deployed in Cuba during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. The R-14 had a longer range, a larger warhead, and a more accurate guidance system than the R-12. It could carry a thermonuclear weapon with a yield of 1 to 2.3 megatons, which was equivalent to millions of tons of TNT. The R-14 could strike targets up to 2,800 miles away, covering most of Europe and parts of Asia. The R-14 was launched from either surface pads, silos, or mobile launchers. The mobile launchers were mounted on trucks that could move around and hide in forests or fields. This made the R-14 more survivable and flexible than fixed-site missiles. The R-14 was also designed to be transportable by air, with each component fitting into a C-130 cargo plane. This enabled the Soviet Union to deploy the R-14 to remote locations, such as Cuba or Greenland. The R-14 was a major threat to the security and stability of the world during the Cold War. It was part of the Soviet nuclear arsenal that aimed to deter or destroy the Western Allies, especially the United States and NATO. The R-14 was also involved in several crises and incidents that could have triggered a nuclear war. For example, in 1963, a Soviet R-14 exploded on the launch pad in Kazakhstan, killing 7 people and spreading radioactive contamination. In 1966, a Soviet R-14 was accidentally launched from a silo in Ukraine, but luckily it was destroyed in midair by a self-destruct mechanism. And in 1976, a Soviet R-14 was detected by a US spy satellite being prepared for launch in Latvia, causing a false alarm and a high alert. The R-14 was gradually phased out by the Soviet Union in the late 1970s and early 1980s as newer and more advanced missiles replaced it. The R-14 was also limited by the 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces (INF) Treaty, which banned all ground-launched missiles with ranges between 310 and 3,420 miles. The R-14 was then officially retired in 1984 after serving for more than 2 decades. The R-14 Chusovaya was a powerful and dangerous nuclear weapon that shaped the history and politics of the Cold War. It was a symbol of the Soviet Union's military and technological prowess, as well as the nuclear arms race and the brinkmanship that characterized the era. The R-14 was also a relic of a bygone age, as many of its former launch sites and facilities are now abandoned and decaying. The R-14 was a nuclear threat that's no longer active, but still has a lasting impact on the world. 3. HMS Dreadnaugh. HMS Dreadnaugh was the first nuclear-powered submarine of the United Kingdom. It was launched in 1960, and it served for 20 years, being decommissioned in 1980. It was named after the revolutionary battleship of 1906, which had established a new standard for naval warfare. Similarly, Dreadnought represented a significant advancement in submarine technology, as it was the first to combine a nuclear reactor with a streamlined hull and a single propeller. The nuclear reactor of Dreadnought gave it several advantages over conventional diesel-electric submarines. It could operate underwater for long periods without surfacing or refueling, and it could achieve higher speeds and greater endurance. It also had a reduced noise signature, making it harder to detect by enemy sonar. Dreadnought was armed with 6 21-inch torpedo tubes and could carry up to 18 torpedoes or missiles. Dreadnought was built by Vickers Armstrong at Barrow-in-Furness with the assistance of the United States under the 1958 US-UK Mutual Defense Agreement. The reactor was supplied by the US, while the rest of the submarine was designed and constructed by the UK. Dreadnought was launched by Queen Elizabeth II on October 21, 1960, and it was commissioned into the Royal Navy on April 17, 1963. Dreadnought had a long and dignified service career, participating in various exercises and operations around the globe. HMS Dreadnought was the lead boat of her class and served as a prototype for the Royal Navy's nuclear-powered submarines. It played a key role in the development and testing of nuclear propulsion technology. And like other submarines in the Royal Navy, Dreadnought would have been involved in strategic deterrence patrols during the Cold War. These patrols were aimed at providing a continuous at-sea presence to deter potential adversaries. Submarines like HMS Dreadnought contributed to national defense by providing a stealthy and mobile platform for surveillance, intelligence gathering, and potential strike capabilities. But due to machinery damage and the limited refit facilities that were available at the time for nuclear fleet submarines, Dreadnought was withdrawn from service in 1980. It was the first of its kind to be decommissioned, and the disposal of its radioactive materials posed a challenge for the UK. HMS Dreadnought is now at Rosyth Dockyard, laid up in a float storage until it can be safely dismantled under the Submarine Dismantling Project, SDP. Dreadnought is a historic vessel, as it marked the beginning of the UK's nuclear submarine fleet, which now consists of 11 submarines, including 4 armed with nuclear missiles. 2. The K278 GO Somaletes. The K278 GO Somaletes was a Project 685 Plavnik nuclear-powered attack submarine of the Soviet Navy, also known by its NATO reporting name of Mike class. It was the only submarine of its design class, and it was capable of carrying a mix of torpedoes and cruise missiles with conventional or nuclear warheads. It was also the first submarine to reach a depth of 3,346 feet in 1984, setting a record at the time. The Somaletes was built by Sevmash and Severodinsk after an order was issued in 1966 for the construction of the submarine. It was then finally completed in 1974, and it was laid down on April 22, 1978. The reactor was supplied by the US, while the rest of the submarine was designed and constructed by the Soviet Union. The GO Somaletes was launched on June 3, 1983, and it was officially commissioned on December 28, 1983. GO Somaletes had a lengthy and distinguished service career, participating in various operations and exercises around the world. As the lead boat of her class, she showcased advanced technologies, including a titanium hull for increasing diving depths, as made evident by her record-breaking dive in 1984. However, the GO Somaletes met its tragic fate on April 7, 1989, during their third operational patrol in the Arctic Ocean. A fire broke out in the engine room, quickly spreading and causing the submarine's nuclear reactor to shut down. The crew managed to carry out an emergency ascent and surface within 11 minutes, but the fire continued to rage and the submarine lost power and control. Many of the crew members perished before rescue, leaving 42 total dead. The GO Somaletes sank in the Norwegian Sea, about 186 miles southwest of Norway's Bear Island, at a depth of 5,528 feet. It still lies there today, with its nuclear reactor and 2 nuclear-armed Skval torpedoes on board. The submarine poses a potential environmental and security risk, as its radioactive materials could leak or be accessed by unauthorized parties. Some efforts have been made to monitor or salvage the submarine, but the challenges are significant. The GO Somaletes is a historic vessel, as it marked the advancement of submarine technology and the courage of its crew. Its grim fate is also a reminder of the dangers and costs of nuclear warfare, and the need for international cooperation and transparency in dealing with such issues. 1. The USS Thresher. The USS Thresher, SSN 593, was the first of the Permit-class nuclear-powered attack submarines, and the second submarine of the US Navy to be named after the Thresher shark. It was launched in July 1960 and was commissioned on August 3, 1961. It was equipped with 4 21-inch torpedo tubes and could carry up to 6 torpedoes or missiles, including the new anti-submarine missile Subrock. Thresher had a nuclear reactor that gave it unlimited range and endurance, as well as high speed and stealth. It was designed to perform various missions such as anti-submarine warfare, intelligence gathering, special operations, and nuclear deterrence. It also played a role in the Cold War. Off Charleston, South Carolina, the USS Thresher supported Subrock anti-submarine missile development. It briefly returned to New England waters, then proceeded to Florida for additional Subrock tests. While moored at Port Canaveral, a tug accidentally struck the submarine, damaging a ballast tank. Repairs at Groton, Connecticut were then conducted by the Electric Boat Company. Thresher underwent further tests off Key West, Florida, before entering Portsmouth Shipyard on July 16, 1962, for a scheduled 6-month post-shakedown availability. Due to being a first-of-class boat, the work extended to nearly 9 months, and after that, the ship was recertified and undocked on April 8, 1963. However, the Thresher met its tragic fate on April 10, 1963, during deep diving tests about 220 miles east of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The day before, the USS Thresher, under Lieutenant Commander John Wesley Harvey, commenced post-overhaul dive trials. After an initial trim dive test, Thresher surfaced and performed a second dive to half of her 1,300-foot test depth. Then, during subsequent deep dive trials, garbled communications with the rescue ship Skylark indicated difficulties. As Thresher neared her test depth, the final message included the number 900, and then all communication ceased. 15 Navy ships were dispatched for search and rescue, and by evening, the submarine was declared missing. Chief of Naval Operations Admiral George W. Anderson Jr. announced the loss, and President John F. Kennedy ordered flags flown at half-staff from April 12th to 15th in honor of the 129 lost submariners and shipyard personnel. On June 25, 1964, USS Thresher was found on the seafloor at a depth of 8,400 feet. It was broken into 5 sections, and the wreckage was photographed in August of that same year. The exact location of the ship, however, is unclear. That's it for today's video on the fascinating and mysterious world of abandoned nuclear submarines. We hope you learned something new and enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!